Hi, everybody. We are starting the story of Beowulf today, and it is one of my favorite stories. It is about this hero who is so awesome and strong and courageous, and he goes and he fights all these monsters, and he is one of the best warriors, and then he becomes king. I mean, could it get any better? Not really. Just saying. So, we are starting Beowulf and we are going to read all about everything that has to do with Beowulf. And we're going to learn a little bit of a history with the story as well. So, you understand everything that's kind of going on inside the story. But first, what you need to know is that you are going to be completing poems by the end of this. You are going to be writing your own alliteration and your own kennings, and we're going to go over that in a little bit. But your SOL for this is 12.4F. It's where you recognize major literary forms and the elements within them. So the form that we are studying is Anglo-Saxon poetry. And the two elements that we are concentrating on is going to be alliteration and kennings. And these are very important to the Anglo-Saxon literature or poems because it helps the poems flow and it gives the poems a memory aid of sorts because it was important that these people were able to pass these stories down and they did that through oral tradition and they actually sung the songs. They didn't just tell the story like as in the narrative. They sung the songs and they were able to make these songs into stories. And what it was Beowulf. He was such a hero. And back then you knew you made it. There was no Hollywood that you knew you made it with, but you knew you made it when you had a heroic song sung about you. And Beowulf made it because he had that song, which is a whole story told about him. So we are going to start with a Prezi, and I'm going to show you a little bit of notes, but you don't have to write them down. You can if you want to. Don't let me discourage you. You are more than welcome to write those notes down. Right down there, you can write them right down there. But you don't have to because I am going to share the Prezi with you at the end. I'm going to share it so you are all going to be able to find it. So you can find my examples of alliteration and kennings and you can return back to them if you need a little extra help. Okay? All right, so first thing we're going to do is go through the presentation. So the first one is Beowulf. What we don't know. We don't know who wrote it because it was anonymous. We have no idea who wrote the story because, like I said before, they sang the songs. They were able to sing them and they would pass the songs down through tradition. When exactly was it written? We really don't know, but it does describe events that takes place in Scandinavia around the 500s. That was a long time ago. So I've already informed you that some of the story is based on historical truth. However, there is hyperbole because some of it's really stretched out. But if you want to believe it, hey, go right ahead. All right, so why study Beowulf? I mean, it's so old. Who cares, right? This girl cares because, like I said, he's one of my favorites. I absolutely love him. All right, so Beowulf is one of the oldest surviving poems in the English language. So everything written since Beowulf stems from it in some sort of way, and it stems from it for number two. The story of Beowulf encompasses themes that we will see in English literature today, which is good versus evil. So it's not just in literature, but it's in movies and it's in TV shows and it's everywhere you kind of look. It's even in cartoons where you have someone and they have like the little devil on this side and the little angel on this side and they're like telling the person what to do. So it's still very relevant today. It's written in Old English or Anglo-Saxon, which is the basis for the language we speak today. Now, Old English is not what you would think it is. It is not anything that you would understand. We would not be able to speak it or pretty much understand it. It was a combination of Germanic, French, and Latin type languages all kind of blended together. So you wouldn't really be able to understand it today, unfortunately. There are a lot of Christian references in the poem, which means the monks more than likely translated it when they wrote it down. The monks probably overheard these stories being sung and told over and over and over, and they kind of took it upon themselves to write down these stories so they would be remembered. But what they did was they inserted a lot of Christian influences into the story. I'm going to talk about that in a second. The original story belonged to the Vikings, which AKA are the pagans. Not the pagans. Yes, the pagans. And if you're not sure what that is, it's a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions. Now, back then, the main world religion was Christianity. Now, the pagans, which are the Vikings, they believed in multiple gods like Odin and Thor and Freya, and they did not believe in Christianity. But what the monks did was they took a pagan story and they inserted Christian influences into it so they could try to convert those pagans into Christianity by teaching them good is God, bad is pagan. So that's what they kind of did. And it kind of worked a little bit. All right, so why wasn't it written down in the first place? Like I told you before, the story was passed down, was passed down orally, sung in songs and poems for centuries before it was first written down. Bards and grandfathers would pass the story of Beowulf to their grandchildren, and to the bards were the ones who would sing the songs. It wasn't until after the Norman invasion of 1066 that writing stories down became common in that part of the world. The monks would translate old verbal stories into the Christian word. All right, so using that is our two main things, alliteration and kennings. So alliterative verse, repetition of initial sounds of words. Here are some examples. The glorious gift God had allowed him. You have the G sound of human shape and superhuman size. You have the S sound. To feast his fill of the flesh of men, you have the F sound. Then this is kind of what it looks like. Well, not kind of. This is what it looked like in Old English. And this is what it sounded like. Oop. Did you understand that? Here, I'll do it one more time since I kind of messed up the screen. Did you get it? Because that's crazy sounding, but that's what it sounded like, and that is what it looked like. And like I said, they would kind of sing it out. So you can still see the alliteration, even though we can't really understand it. You can still see the alliteration that was used there. Next is you have the kennings. The kennings are compound metaphors, which are just usually two words. And you have, for instance, ronade, which was a Old English word. It means whale road, but it was translated into sea because, where did the road of the whales go? It was in the sea. Some other examples are dwelling place, which is home, because, you dwell in that place. The giver of gold is a king because he's the one who gives all of the gold. These are my two favorites. A sky candle, which is the sun. How beautiful is that? And then battle sweat, which is blood. So if you cut yourself and you got blood coming out, you'd be like, I got battle sweat. And that's right, looking all tough and whatnot. That's what a kenning does. All right, so those are your major things that you are going to look into. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to read some of the Beowulf, the introduction to Grendel. And as we read that, we are going to pick out the alliterative verses, and we are going to find some kennings while we're doing it too. And then after we all do that and we all pretty much once you're getting real confident about finding these things, you are going to come up with your own assignments. You're going to write a cinquain, which is a poem, and you are going to use alliteration, and the poem is going to be about you. It's going to be very, very easy. All you have to do is find a sound. Let's just use my name, Bowden. You can say, beautiful Bowden loves Beowulf. How good is that? So easy. All you got to do is find that sound and write a little poem about it. You got this. Now, the second one is the Kennings. You're going to write 3 different Kennings. The first one, I want you to write a Kenning about your favorite actor or actress. I want you to try to describe them using a Kenning so I can kind of figure out who they are. If you can, be creative. The second one is your music artist, your favorite music artist. Go with that. And then the third one, we're going to go on right back to the whole good versus evil. I want you to pick a superhero or a villain, and I want you to write a Kenning about them. Once you get your poem and your Kennings, I would like you to go on Flipgrid, and I would like to record you reading your poem and your Kennings. And then after you give your Kennings, I want you to tell us who it is to see if we guess right. I think we can do it. I think we got this. But I know you can do it. And if you have any questions or you need any help, all you got to do is email me and get in touch with me. Like I said, I'm going to share this presentation so you can look back at my examples of Kennings and alliteration, and then we're going to read.